a video on something that I want to have a play around with. So let's work my way through this. It's going to be longer than I want it to be, but it always is because I always have to explain my things. Explain my things. Yes, that makes sense. So, tinned peaches. It comes in a light syrup. Sometimes you just use the peaches, sometimes you use the peaches and the juice. If I just use the peaches, I say the juice because I don't like food waste. I always kind of think, well, it tastes of something. It tastes kind of quite sweet. It's a bit syrupy. We can do it with other things. We can reduce it down and turn it into a syrup, which we can use in like a treacle sponge type of thing. We can't call it treacle sponge, but we can call it syrup sponge. Or I put it in the bottom of trifles. Those type of things. So, I was thinking that, so what I do is we'll kind of show you. So this is the syrup. I can't do one spoon. This is the syrup when it comes out of the jar. You know, it's got a consistency to it, and it tastes sweet. It tastes of peaches. But what I normally do is I normally reduce it. So I stick it in a pan, bring it up to boil, slowly simmer it, and reduce and evaporate off the excess liquid, and then we are left with something like this. Oh no, I do need the spoon, so I'll lick it. This is where all the washing up comes from. So you reduce it down, and then you get that, which is more of a consistency, a thicker consistency, kind of looking more like a honey type of thing. Oh, that's kind of quite interesting, isn't it? Potentially, I could use that to make a treacle tart as well. Maybe that's another video for the future. So it's thicker, it's sweeter, it's got a little bit of sharpness to it. It's nice. You add a little bit more sugar to it, it turns into like a treacle type of thing, and then you can use it in a syrup sponge. Now, I think we can take the reduced juice, add a bit of lemon juice to it, and then fold it into, when it's cool, fold it into some whipped cream, and we can make like a tort. So not a cheesecake, but like a set cold cheesecake, but it's called a tort if it hasn't got any cheese products in. So it's not got any mascarpone or ricotta. What the hell is ricotta? Ricotta or a cream cheese or cheese curds or anything like that. You can't call it a cheesecake. It's not got any cheese in, but you can call it a tort. So, and then the acidity in the lemon will set the cream, make it a little bit harder than if it was just plain old whipped. And then we'd also get the flavour and the sweetness from the syrup as well. I think we'll add some sugar as well. So that's what we're going to do. So this is a 7-inch, 180 centimetre cheesecake spring mould. I think it's mum. I think it was my grandma's actually. And then we've got 2 tins of the cheap peaches, because if I'm just playing around with something, we might as well just use the cheap stuff. And you know, just because we're on a little bit of a budget doesn't mean we can't have nice food. You know, if we have to use cheaper ingredients, we can still make them taste nice. So that's how I always kind of think. These tin peaches, they're fine for this kind of thing. So we have got 2 tins worth of peaches. I'm trying not to make a mess of my board. So on there, I'll use that for something else, but it was just sat in the fridge. So, and that's what gave me the idea, because I was looking at it the other day going, I don't know when I'm going to use that up. So there we have got about just short of 300 millilitres worth of syrup, and that comes from a 410 gram tins of peaches. So what's that weigh in grams? And then we know for definite. And then we're going to reduce it down, and then we'll be able to tell. So the scales are just off the camera because the board's wobbly, and so it doesn't give a proper reading. So that gives us 285 grams once it's kind of finished draining. So stick that on the gas, heat it up gently. Now we're going to heat it up gently because any kind of heat up the side of the pan will potentially burn the syrup as it reduces, and we don't want that. We don't want to burn the syrup, although maybe we kind of do it in other things. And then yeah, we don't want that caramel flavour in it. So I was going to buy limes, wasn't I? I bought lemons instead because I've slept since my original thought. Yeah, so peaches, lime and mango works particularly well. Mango isn't that much of a hop and a step and a jump and a skip from the taste of but peaches and mangoes not that dissimilar, so I think peaches will work with lime, but I ended up buying lemons. So, and what do I reckon? I reckon 1 lemon to set that amount of that. Well, probably 2 lemons we'd probably need. So if we're making a lemon posset, it'd be 300 millilitres and about one lemon, maybe, or maybe half a lemon. I'll look at the recipe, but I reckon 1 lemon to set that amount of cream. Plus, there's going to be a little bit of acidity in there as well. So, juice this lemon, add that into there. Do we need to see that, or am I finished talking? No, I think I finished talking. I don't think I need to say anything else. Yeah, oh yeah, and then, so to get the recipe down, it was 150 grams worth of digested biscuits, which I've smashed up. So any kind of biscuits that you use for a biscuit base, I use digested biscuits. But people use, like in America, is it graham crackers? I don't know if that's a brand or a type of biscuit. Biscuits are crackers. Crackers are biscuits. So, and then 75 grams worth of butter, and then this is 600 milliliters of double cream, which is what I assume heavy cream is in different parts of the world, but it's double cream, so it just means that it whips up really heavy. Whereas a single cream, well, we've got 3 types of cream in the UK. We've got single, whipping, and double. Single is what you pour into your coffee and on desserts. Whipping is what you whip, and double is for things like sauces and if you want something that's a little bit heavier to whip. So that's that, and then is that all the recipe? Yes. So we'll reduce that down, see what it gets to reduction wise, plus a little bit of the juice from that, and then we're not going to waste those peaches on top. I think what we'll do is we'll decorate the top of the tort with the peaches. We'll either chop them up or decorate the top nicely, but we'll see how we go. Right, we have reduced the juice, so let's. I'm not going to make it. I'll just make a mess of the chopping board. So let's see how much we've reduced this down by. I've added the lemon juice to it. I suppose I could have added the zest as well, but not today. So we reduced it down to 96 grams. 96 grams. So I'll put that back in there. Now, I think that's going to be a little bit too sharp. And I think we're going to need a little bit of sugar just to kind of sweeten that up. So, although we'll be sweetening it up, we'll still have the acidity of the lemon juice in there. So what we're going to put in, sugar-wise. So we could add sugar to the cream, but I don't really want to do that. We might as well add it to this. So, I'm going to do this. Everything's such a faff, isn't it? I don't want to burn my scales when I'm putting a hot pan on them. So let's tear that off. I don't have to pour it out into that jug again. So put the pan on a plate on the scales. So, and then we're going to add how much sugar? Let's add 50 grams worth of sugar. See where we get with that. So just melt that in there. Turn it up. It'll melt properly. It won't crystallise because of the acid from the lemon. I think. We'll see if we need to add some more sugar. How does it taste? Let's add a little bit more sugar. Let's just add a little bit more. So maybe another 25 grams. Because we've got to think about the amount of cream that's going to be sweetening. I don't like things overly sweet. So I think things can be too sweet and like cloying type of sweet. I think you want that nice balance of, certainly with something like a cheesecake or a tort, you want that nice balance of fruity, sharp, and kind of sweet. And I think you need that with a lot of things. That you need to kind of balance out the sharpness of something with some sweetness. Like if you kind of think about like a gooseberry or a rhubarb crumble, their gooseberries and rhubarb are really sharp, But you don't want to kind of lose that sharpness by adding too much sugar to it. It just doesn't want to be like a sugary kind of mess. That's probably me just not having too much of a sweet tooth. I do have a sweet tooth, but it's not ridiculous sweet. I think that'd be nice. I think about right. So that, I reckon, about 75 grams worth of sugar. Obviously, that depends on the peaches that you're using. I think that'll be enough, and I think that'll be. No, I think that will be fine. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. I think so. That can live on that plate. It won't make a mess in the board. Let's wipe that up. Clean and tidy for a change. Because if we think about that amount of cream, that amount of liquid into that cream and a lemon juice will probably set it. And also there's going to be, because we've made quite a heavy syrup there, that will help set the cream as well. I suppose we could have pureed the peaches and made a compote that way and folded that through the cream, but no. So let that cool slightly, because if we put that in the cream now, it's going to melt the cream. That's not what we want. So let that cool slightly, turn the gas off, and then we'll combine them and we'll see how it tastes. And if we need to add a bit more sugar, we'll add some powdered sugar to it, some icing sugar. So we have whipped the cream. So not over, let's get that lead out of the way, otherwise that's going to cause problems. So I whipped it, so it's not overly whipped, we haven't turned it into butter. And then this has cooled to like a jam kind of consistency. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to think we're going to be able to fold it in? We should be okay. We should be okay. We'll just wing it, as always. We'll just wing it. So that's already kind of quite firm. Do we need to? Let's sacrifice a little bit of that cream into there. And then mix that around, and then it'll loosen that slightly, and then it'll mix in a little bit easier. Yeah, that'll work. So making sure we get as much out of that as possible and get it whipped in. Because I really should blend that, but not to worry. Let's just get that in there. Let's just crack on with it. Go straight at them. That's a line from one of my favourite films. Well, probably a paraphrasing, but that off there, that off that, that, and then let's not make any more up, and let's just fold this into this. So it's feeling like it's firming up already. Yeah, I think that'll set pretty well with that. So give it a taste with finger. That's lovely. If we can get a little bit more out of that. Although we have to be quick because the acid is going to start setting that cream. So yeah, I think this is going to work. I mean, we could be eating like pure cream, but what does it really matter? Right? What does it really matter? And then it won't be able to. It'll have to be kept in the fridge and served out of the fridge. So we won't be able to leave it out on the side. We'll have to keep it in the fridge. Otherwise, I think it'll just melt at room like a ambient room temperature. We're in the middle of winter at the moment. What are we? 13th February. So the house is kind of quite cool this time of year, but still probably best off kept in the fridge. And then I need some, which I haven't got, and then spatula, not spatula, palette knife. That's interesting. I've just realised something. So it's called a palette knife. And I always thought it was kind of quite strange when you see painters using a palette knife, because I always thought a palette knife was something that was just for the kitchen. But I never really thought about the name, and it's a palette knife because she painters palette. So when you see Bob Ross using a palette knife, it's not something that he's nicked from the kitchen. He's actually using something that's designed for painting. So I think that'll set pretty well. And then we'll let it set up in the fridge. And then we'll arrange the peaches on top, I think. Can't get that completely smooth on top because I haven't got the right type of palette knife. But that'll do. So good that off there and then taste this. That's rather nice, is that? Very creamy and a little bit peachy and a little bit sharp. We'll set that and then we'll put some peaches on top and then we'll cut into it. Right, so it looks like it's set solid. So tinted a bit of peaches. So we can either arrange these peaches like this, see if we've got enough to kind of do the fancy pattern around the top. Or if we haven't, what we can do is we can see they're not uniformed. So if we were to buy a better quality of peach, we'd have them a lot more uniform in size and the same kind of colour, because that's generally what you pay for. See, we get those type of things, we get that in it. So it might be better to chop up the peaches into chunks and then put them on top. So I'll show you what I mean. Just to take the peaches and to dice them, so to kind of go like that, and then clump them on the top. So it might be better to do that because they're not going to be equal, but we will persevere. I'm going to give it I'm working tomorrow, so I'm going to take it for the volunteers who help on a Wednesday, and then they can have a treat for volunteering. There's got to be some perks for volunteering, hasn't there? It can't just be for everything, can't just be for doing good. They have to have some little treats as well, don't they? Well, that's do we really need to? Do I need to say what I think about volunteering? I mean, fundamentally, I mean, you're doing it for volunteering. You're doing it for yourself because of the way it makes you feel, and it makes feel good to do good for other people. You know, I mean, which is kind of a terrible way of kind of thinking about volunteering, but that's what it is. Now, the only difficulty with that is cutting through it. So no kind of knife is going to be sharp enough to kind of cut through that, is it? But so that's why cutting it in chunks would be better. But let's just see. Let's just see. We'll get the carving knife out. So it looks pretty, so we'll take a picture of that. But we've got those left over, so we probably would have been better chunking them up. Anyway, it's another time. Let's just use the blowtorch to melt the outside of the Tort, not cheesecake, and then it'll come out the spring mould a lot easier. See, it's kind of quite pretty on top, isn't it? Should come out easier now we've done that. We've just melted around the outside of it, so it should just open relatively easy. That's easier, isn't it? Isn't that pretty? So we'll take a picture. Let's just have a go. So, oh, we might be okay. We just need to saw through the peaches. I'm not going to cut a big bit. We'll just saw through the peaches like that. And then the trick with cutting cheesecakes, torts, things like this, is a hot knife. Which you can do if you're heating this up, can't we? So normally just some boiling water in a jug is sufficient. It just gives you that clean edge, but we've got the hot, we've got the blowtorch out, so we can just use that. Oh, that is hot, isn't it? Aha! And then just through there like that. And then it should hold together. That's alright, isn't it? So, can I show you without it falling to bits? Probably not. Probably not. Not without the peaches falling off. But it has held together, hasn't it? Like that. It's not sagging, and it's not just because of the cream. That's certainly because of the lemon juice and the syrup we made from the tinned peaches. What does it taste like? See, there we go. That's not falling over. So we're holding it down and it's not sagging too much. That's lovely. There we go. Success. That's delicious.